Alright. Hello, friends and family. How's everybody doing today? Carpo. I'm Carpo. I'm here to make a video. I guess I should come up with an introduction. Howdy ho! I was going to make a couple quick videos this morning. I've got to go to a dentist in about an hour, and I thought I would get some thoughts out before I leave. Two things I wanted to talk about, and I'll probably just make a separate video for the other one because they're completely unrelated. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's worth arguing about. I guess it would kind of tie into my video last night, where it was, God, what was the video? It was about controversy and taking criticism from people. And I was mentioning how I've, over the years, become better and better at taking criticism. But it doesn't mean that anybody is made of stone. I don't know a single person out there who, if somebody they loved came up to them and said, you're a really shitty person, that they would just be like, I don't care. Because most people do care. A sociopath might be able to justify it, but the general population, we don't want to be put down. And it comes down to who you're willing to accept criticism from. Now, friends and family, if they give you criticism, you're willing to look it over. If somebody random gives it to you, you might just blow them off or forget. I got to stop using that term because somebody always teases me about it. Just letting it go is really important, but when it's something that's important that hits home and really you feel it in your heart, you can't deny your own emotions. All of us have them. And we can try to be tough, try to pretend like we have thicker skin or that things don't bother us, but you can tell when something bothers someone. But it's really hard to determine whether it's really something that bothers someone in an argument, or if it's something they're arguing because they know it's true, or they're arguing out of ignorance. And which leads me to the subject here, which is what's worth arguing about. And what inspired me to make this video was actually just about 2 minutes ago. I went in and I was flipping through YouTube videos, and I went to my playlist. I have a playlist of sounds of the universe, and it's basically radio signals that are converted into sound from the planets, and allows you to hear what they would call the voice of the Earth, if you will. Anyhow, it's kind of irrelevant to the story here, but as it came on, it showed this. It's like a view of the satellite, a satellite, passing over the Earth as the sun rises. And I was looking at the beautiful sphere of the Earth, and my first thought was, there are a lot of people out there who would look at that and say, that's not a sphere, you guys are idiots, it's flat. Now please, if you're a flat earther, this isn't about the flat earth debate, and I'm not going to get into it. In fact, the point I'm trying to make here is that the flat earth debate is one of the debates that's not worth having. Now, doesn't mean that a person can't converse about it or try to explain their point to a person, but I've discussed this with a lot of flat earth believers, and they are so strongly entrenched in what they believe to be true that everyone else is wrong. Even using common sense things like, well, everything else is round in the universe, or the other planets are round, or why is the Earth flat, or, and they can come up with a million different stories as to why. And a person may spend weeks or months arguing with them. In fact, I know people who have. They're still arguing with flat earthers years later. And I had my maybe a 1 month excursion into the idea and trying to talk to the people and see what they believe, looking at their website and coming to my own conclusions. And then I set that aside and I filed it under waste of time category. The waste of time category is any argument which doesn't have resolution, because it's not worth arguing about. This is the thing. Even if you were able to convince someone, what does it really matter what shape they believe the Earth is? And when they so strongly believe in something, it's hard to convince them otherwise. And what's the point if you did? Is it really helping anything? So you have to look at every issue, every argument, as whether it's worth it, and whether anything can be resolved. Now let me turn to say the political atmosphere would be different. The reason why people are so adamant about expressing their political views is because they believe that others need to hear these things because they're thinking incorrectly, or that they believe that if we think a certain way, then we're going to devastate our economy, our planet, each other, erode trust in one another. So people feel strongly about it because it does matter. It may not matter whether you believe the Earth is flat or round, But it does matter whether you believe the earth is being polluted or not, or whether you believe that government has the right to rule regardless of what the people believe. And it was interesting because actually I watched a video this morning. It was a TED Talks, and it was called How to Have Better Political Conversations, and it just came out today. And it was really good. It was only like 10 minutes long, and they did some statistical analysis and interviews with people where they gave 3 groups of people a paper to read about the environment, and the wording in each paper was different in the 3 groups. And what they found out, you'd have to watch it yourself to get the whole gist of it, but the way that we word things with one another is very important. So if you were to tell, let's say a liberal were to tell a conservative that by protecting, let's say gay marriage rights, then that would allow equality. But if you change the word to patriotism or fairness, then that was actually able to get attention of people more who were in the conservative group. Because what they found was that it's not about the specifics on details about any one situation. It comes down to core values. Whereas one person may be strongly patriotic and think, this is the only country that matters, this is the country I live in, I'm going to defend its borders, and the rest of the world can just go on as it wants, and it can collapse, but we're going to take care of our country. And then another line of thinking is, well, if you don't take care of your neighbor's house, if you don't help your neighbors, if you don't help people around the world, then it's not going to help you in the long run. That you may be able to gain something short term, but unless everyone's evolving at a similar pace, then we all kind of fall by the wayside. But these are huge questions. So when you get into an argument, whether it be political, religious is another one. I won't even get into that, because arguing, let's say, a Christian to a non-Christian and telling them, hey, what you believe isn't true and I don't believe it, and the Christian says, well, you're wrong and I believe what I believe and you should believe this. How many of these debates or arguments have ever resolved in one person going, you're right, I think I've been wrong all these years? Because it's not just a belief that people hold. It's a belief based on their values, and quite often that's based on what they want to believe. And that's a tough one. For all of us, we kind of have a little bit of that. We want things to go along with what we believe to be true. And it doesn't always work that way, but we should be willing to change as the information fits, and to pick our battles carefully. Because while everyone's arguing about trivial details about what a person may have said or meant, I can see why people are frustrated with those who deal with trivial things. But I can also say that spending too much time on the big questions doesn't leave us enough time to be trivial, because sometimes triviality is what helps us to just kind of ease the burden of, holy shit, life is crazy and complex. The mere existence, our mere existence, is amazing. And that I can sit here with these senses that are so very limited, It's like we have 5 senses to really understand the world around us. But most of the time we're not using our taste buds. And a lot of the time we don't smell anything, for example. So if you close your eyes and there's no smells in the air, then what do you have? You have your hearing and your touch. So if you sit still and you can't feel anything, all you really have is your hearing. This is why meditation is so crucial, to have silence and to be able to sit and eliminate your senses, because it allows your brain to go into itself. And we need more of that. More quiet time in our minds, I think. More time to think. And when I was younger, I always had the stereo going in the car. I love my bass, and I'd always have an amp and a subwoofer and just crank it up. And in the last, say, 6 years or so, especially since I had my middle son, who's 7 now, having kids around constantly being noisy, when you get in your car, it's your only quiet time sometimes. And so I tend to drive around without any stereo on now, and I think of so many things that really help me to resolve issues. It's like the brain's always working on these things, but we tend to kind of ignore them because we don't want to deal with situations, so we keep ourselves busy. But by thinking these things out, then we can have better discussions about them and better understand them, I think. Anyhow, I could go on and on about it, but I won't. Try to keep this video reasonably short, because they always end up being 20 minutes long. make the other one about music, because that's the one I wanted to make the most. Talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful day.